Who does probation close for? In the most holy and then in the holy. Part 10, question 6. These tables of stone will be a convincing testimony to the truth. The wedding takes place in the most holy place, the wedding supper 1,000 years later. Probation closes, Christ's intercession ceases in heaven. Testimony, volume 2, page 191, and the blotting out of sins. In my opinion, after the National Sunday Law is enacted in America, when the Saturday-Sunday issue becomes really heated up, the tables of stone hidden in the ark until that time will be brought before the world as a convincing testimony to the truth of God's law. I have compiled this study in chronological order because I believe that they are going to be shown before probation closes and after probation closes. These tables of stone will be a convincing testimony to the truth in chronological order. Before the temple was destroyed, God made known to a few of his faithful servants the fate of the temple. These righteous men, just before the destruction of the temple, removed the sacred ark containing the tables of stone, and with mourning and sadness secreted it in a cave where it was to be hid from the people of Israel because of their sins, and was to be no more restored to them. That sacred ark is yet hid. It has never been disturbed since it was secreted. Spirit of Prophecy, 1870, volume 1, page 414. Sacrilegious minds and hearts have thought they were mighty enough to change the times and laws of Jehovah. But safe in the archives of heaven, in the ark of God, are the original commandments written upon 2 tables of stone. No potentate of earth has power to draw forth those tables from their sacred hiding place beneath the mercy seat. Signs of the Times, February 28, 1878. I beseech you, therefore, see to it that your influence is not against the commandments of God. The law is just as Jehovah wrote it in the temple of heaven. Man may trample upon its copy here on earth, but the original is kept in the ark of God in heaven. Above it is the mercy seat, and Jesus, our great high priest, stands before the ark to mediate in man's behalf. Signs of the Times, December 22, 1887. The precious record of the law was placed in the ark of the testament and is still there, safely hidden from the human family. But in God's appointed time, it's going to happen at an appointed time, he will bring forth these tables of stone to be a testimony to all the world against the disregard of his commandments and against the idolatrous worship of a counterfeit Sabbath. Manuscript 122, 1901, Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 1, page 1109. When God's temple in heaven is open, what a triumphant time that will be for all who have been faithful and true. In the temple will be seen the Ark of the Testament, in which were placed the 2 tables of stone, on which are written God's law. These tables of stone will be brought forth from their hiding place, and on them will be seen the 10 commandments engraved by the finger of God. These tables of stone, now lying in the Ark of the Testament, will be a convincing testimony to the truth and binding claims of God's law. Letter 47, 1902, Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 7, 972. God's temple in heaven is opened in Revelation 11, 15, and 19, when the 7th angel sounds the last trumpet, after the close of probation. Notice that the rest of the language takes place before the close of probation. Remember, we spoke about the fact that before the first angel sounds its trumpet, the censer is cast into the earth. So all 7 trumpets take place after the close of probation. This Revelation 11, it's just before Jesus comes. It's one of the last things that happens And that's when people are going to see, wow, we messed up. What is represented by the beast, the image, the mark? The line of prophecy in which these symbols are found begins with Revelation 12, with the dragon that sought to destroy Christ at his birth. The great controversy, 438. There are two lines of prophecy in Revelation. One from Revelation 1 to Revelation 11, the seventh trumpet. Probation, remember, closes with the first trumpet. After the seventh trumpet, the tables of stone are shown, and that's the end of the first line. It's the end of the world. It's just happens, its probation has already closed much before. Then in Revelation 12, John goes back to the birth of Christ. The seals and the trumpets end in the first line of prophecy from Revelation 1 to 11. Then John goes back to Christ's birth to explain the great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns in Revelation 12, 1 to 3. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God. It was written with the finger of God, never to be obliterated, never to be destroyed. The tables of stone are hidden by God to be produced in the great judgment day, just as he wrote them. Review and Herald, March 26, 1908. When the judgment shall sit, and the books shall be opened, and every man shall be judged according to the things written in the books, then the tables of stone hidden by God until that day will be presented before the world as the standard of righteousness. Then men and women will see that the prerequisite of their salvation is, not was, is, this is before the close of probation, is obedience to the perfect law of God. None will find excuse for sin. By the righteous principles of that law, men will receive their sentence of life or of death. Review and Herald, January 28, 1909. So that has to be the judgment of the living. Among the righteous still in Jerusalem, to whom had been made plain the divine purpose, were some who determined to place beyond the reach of ruthless hands the sacred ark containing the tables of stone on which had been traced the precepts of the Decalogue. This they did. With mourning and sadness they secreted the ark in a cave, where it was to be hidden from the people of Israel and Judah because of their sins, and was to be no more restored to them. That sacred ark is yet hidden. It has never been disturbed since it was secreted. Prophets and King, her last book. Notice how many things are in that book. If you haven't read it, I would counsel you to read it. Prophets and Kings, 1915. And friends, let me tell you, I think I've told you already once, but you know, I am being so blessed by reading every day 3 articles from the Review and Herald or Signs of the Times. You know, these were articles that Ellen White, as God's prophet, was writing to the church. And most of the good quotes that I have found, quotes that you don't see in any books, are found in the Review and Herald, Signs of the Times. It's just incredible articles. And they are meant to be read in the family circle. So it was a prophet writing a letter every week for God's people. What a privilege. How are we going to get to heaven and say, oh Lord, but I didn't read the spirit of prophecy? Friends, if you don't read the spirit of prophecy, if you don't believe in the spirit of prophecy, this is my opinion, I don't think there's a chance in the world that we can make it through what's coming. I know I couldn't make it. You know, the temptations that we have now have never been seen by people before us. They didn't have internet, they didn't have television, they didn't have the propensity to sin like we do today. You know, little kids today find out things that it took men 60 years to learn. It just makes sense. And God took a lot of time with this beautiful lady And for longer than probably any prophet, maybe not Daniel, for 70 years, she wrote messages to God's people to prepare us for such a time as this. And if you're still wrestling with the spirit of prophecy, you need to have a talk with the Lord. Prophets and Kings was the last book written by Mrs. White. The Holy Spirit wanted us to understand that the table secreted in the cave will be brought out as a convincing testimony before probation closes. What we are going to study now is extremely important. We have been so concerned in trying to prove to the world that the judgment commenced in 1844 that we have forgotten that it only commenced in 1844. The final cleansing of the sanctuary has not taken place. Otherwise, why are we here? The judgment of the living takes place now. And as Seventh-day Adventists, we feel completely secure going to church on Sabbath and paying tithes. And if we don't know how sin is dealt with in God's sanctuary, we will not be able to stand in the time that is coming. And this is why Mrs. White said the sanctuary message is the central pillar of our message. Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. It started in 1844. Let's review what takes place now. From the time of Adam, the book of life contains the names of every person that ever entered into the service of God. But the great majority of people don't want to enter into the narrow gate. They do not want to know about God. They do not want to obey God. They are going to enter through the broad gate that leads to destruction. This second group never cared about God, never reached out to God, never helped others find God. This is the story of Cain when he killed Abel. And their names are never written in the book of life. We now get to 1844 and the investigative judgment takes place. We will see today that the only cases that are considered in the investigative judgment in 1844 are the cases of those whose names had been written in the book of life. The rest of the dead are not judged until 1,000 years later when we come back from heaven. And when we go to heaven, we're going to be judging them there. That's what the Bible says. When we read chapter 33 in Ezekiel, we find out that when we confess our sins are not forgiven, but they are transferred to the heavenly sanctuary. But Ezekiel 33 explains in detail that when we get to the judgment, if someone whose name had been written in the book of life had just one unconfessed sin, all of those sins that were transferred to the heavenly sanctuary come back on his head. And if on the other hand you have the thief on the cross that entered the service of God very late in his life, had a number of sins, but yet at the very last moment he said, Lord, take me with you to paradise. And at that moment, all of the sins that were in the heavenly sanctuary were taken out, and none of those sins were remembered. We're going to see those quotes today. If we don't understand God's heavenly sanctuary and how Jesus moves through that sanctuary, we are not going to have the conviction that we need to overcome sin in our lives. Jesus said, "Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." Daniel says, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. The only way we can understand those two statements is by studying Leviticus 16, which is the book that deals, the chapter in Leviticus that deals with the heavenly sanctuary, and seeing the work and faces of Jesus as he moves through that heavenly sanctuary. We understand that in 1844 Jesus went into the most holy place, but we have remained in the most holy place. Jesus leaves the most holy place in Leviticus 16 verse 18, never returns to the most holy place, and we're not even considering that. We're not considering when the judgment of the living takes place, which we don't know when it will be, but we need to study these things so that we understand that probation is very close to ending right now. In the sin offerings presented during the year, the blood of the victim had not made full atonement for the sin. It had only provided a means by which the sin was transferred to the sanctuary. But he was not entirely released from the condemnation of the law. On the Day of Atonement, the high priest went into the most holy place with the blood and sprinkled it upon the mercy seat above the tables of the law. Thus the claims of the law which demanded the life of the sinner were satisfied. Then, in his character of mediator, the priest took the sins upon himself, and leaving the sanctuary, he goes from the most holy place through the holy place, has a ministry in the holy place, and then he leaves the sanctuary. Then in his character of mediator, the priest took the sins upon himself, and leaving the sanctuary, he bore with him the burden of Israel's guilt. At the door of the tabernacle, he laid his hands upon the head of the scapegoat and confessed over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. The blood of Christ, while it was to release the repentant sinner from the condemnation of the law, was not to cancel the sin. It would stand on record in the sanctuary until the final atonement. The final atonement is what's coming now, and we're not even studying any of this right now. Patriarchs and Prophets 355 to 357. As we have done before, let's review the question for each section. So this is question 6. Why do we believe that probation closes during the intercession of Jesus in the most holy place? Why do we believe that the censer is cast into the earth from the most holy place? Leviticus 16:18, and he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and cleanse it, and hallow it. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat, and Aaron shall lay both hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. Leviticus 16:18 to 21. So Jesus is in the most holy place. He then goes out of the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18. He goes to the golden altar, stands in front of the golden altar. He has to cleanse the most holy place, make an atonement for it. He has to make an atonement for the holy place. He has to make an atonement for the golden altar, and then he takes those sins upon himself. He goes out to the door of the holy place, and there he places them upon Satan. Then I saw Jesus, who had been ministering before the ark containing the 10 commandments, throw down the censer. He raised his hands and with a loud voice said, "It is done. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still." Early Writings 2:79. The censer is cast to the earth, and we're going to study it in detail. We're going to have to repeat some of these things, but I want you to be getting ready for what we're going to study. He goes from the most holy place to the golden altar. He is standing in front of the old golden altar, still mediating. We have never seen that. And then he takes the censer and casts it into the earth. Then it is that probation closes while he is mediating in front of the golden altar in the holy place. We're going to see that. At that time shall Michael stand up. So this is after the close of probation. Great controversy says that Michael stands up after the close of probation. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. Then Jesus ceases his intercession in the sanctuary, not in the most holy place. He had already left the most holy place. Now he's in the sanctuary, in the holy place, which includes the most holy and the holy. Then Jesus ceases his intercession in the sanctuary above. He lifts his hands and with a loud voice says, "It is done. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still." Great controversy 6:13. The censer is cast into the earth only once in Scripture. In the great controversy and in early writings, when the censer is cast into the earth, those words are pronounced. "He that is unjust, let him be unjust still." It's a close of probation. It was impossible for the plagues to be poured out while Jesus officiated in the sanctuary. Not in the most holy place. He had already left the most holy place. But as his work there is finished and his intercession closes, there is nothing to stay the wrath of God. Jesus tarried a moment in the outer apartment of the heavenly sanctuary, the holy place, and the sins which had been confessed while he was in the most holy place were placed upon Satan, the originator of sin, who must suffer their punishment. Early Writings 280.2. And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer. We're going to see that that angel is Jesus. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. He's already left the most holy place. He's standing in front of the golden altar. Incense is given to him so that he can offer it with the prayers of the saints. Who is he interceding for? According to what we believe and what we teach, once Jesus leaves the most holy place, it's done. Ask your pastor. Who is he interceding for in the holy place when another angel comes and gives him in front of the golden altar incense? Notice. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. Very abruptly. We don't know why. We're not told why in Scripture, but we are in the spirit of prophecy. And people reading Revelation 8:3 wonder, well, he was mediating, offering the prayers of the saints with the incense, and all of a sudden he takes the golden censer and casts it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Revelation 8:3-6. There are two intercessions. First in the most holy and then in the holy. Notice, quote, probation closes. Christ's intercessions, plural, cease in heaven. This time finally comes suddenly upon all, and those who have neglected to purify their souls by obeying the truth are found sleeping. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, page 191. God commanded that an atonement be made for each of the sacred apartments, the most holy and the holy. As for the altar, to cleanse it and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. Leviticus 16:19, she quotes that. 16:19 because he lives in 16:18. In 16:19 he atones for those three places, the most holy, the holy, and the golden altar. And in 16:20, that process ends. Patriarchs and Prophets 3:55. The wedding takes place in the most holy place, the wedding supper 1,000 years later. The ministry of the high priest on the Day of Atonement, Leviticus 16, verses 11 through 14. Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. This is in the most holy place in AD 31. Notice, I know we don't believe that. We've never taught that, but you're going to see a quote from Ellen White saying precisely that. Jesus had to fulfill Leviticus 16. In Leviticus 16, we have the high priest going into the most holy place first for himself with a bullock. He comes out. Then he goes back with a goat for the people, and he comes out. We only look at Jesus going in 1844. No, he had to go before that. Notice, Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, in AD 31, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before the Lord, that's the golden altar, and his hands full of sweet incense beaten small, and bring it within the veil. He goes into the most holy place. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Leviticus 16, 11 through 14. Now comes 1844. This is verses 15 through 17. Notice. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people. Enters the most holy place in 1844. And bring his blood within the veil. And do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out, and have made an atonement for himself, and for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel. Leviticus 16, 15 to 17. Now Leviticus 16, 18 and 19. He goes out of the most holy place, never to return to the most holy place. In Leviticus 16, 18, Leviticus 16 has 34 verses. He never goes back into the most holy place. You're going to see that. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord. That's the golden altar, also called the altar of incense, and make an atonement for it, and cleanse it and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. Leviticus 16, 18, and 19. Now look at Leviticus 16, 20 and 21. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, we're going to see that means the most holy, and the tabernacle of the congregation, that is the holy place, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat, and Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions in all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. He takes his hands, puts them on the live goat, and confesses over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. This was done year by year, but the sins remained. But now, in the final cleansing of the sanctuary, this operation takes place, and if you're caught now or then with unconfessed sin, you're cut off from God's people. Jesus had to fulfill Leviticus 16, 11 through 14. Notice, the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Jesus saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. Then the same day, at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst, and said unto them, Peace be unto you. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. John 21 through 20. This is why I say to you, friends, that we need to study the spirit of prophecy. So Mary comes to touch Jesus, and he says, Touch me not. I have not yet ascended to my Father, and made sure that he accepted my sacrifice. That same day he goes to heaven, he comes back, and that night he appears to his disciples. And then they say, Are you a spirit? And he says, No, touch me, feel me. Give me a piece of bread and a broiled fish, and I'll eat it with you. We're going to see it. And as they, that is John 20. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit. And he said unto them, Why are you troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. And when he had thus spoken, he showed them his hands and his feet, and they gave him a piece of a broiled fish and of a honeycomb. And he took it and did eat before them. Luke 24, 36 to 43. Look at the call out. Like the high priest in Leviticus 16, 11 through 14, in AD 31, Jesus entered the most holy place and offered the blood of the bullock for himself and his house. Jesus would not allow Mary to touch him until he heard from his Father that his sacrifice had been accepted. Jesus quickly ascended to his Father, surrounded by his glory in the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary, to receive his approval. That same day he returned to the earth and then allowed his disciples to handle him. Upon his ascension the second time, he ministered in the holy place of the heavenly sanctuary until the great day of atonement on October 22, 1844, when he entered the most holy place the second time to continue his ministry for the people in fulfillment of Leviticus 16:15. Friends, when we became Adventists, we were not told this. We were just told Jesus entered the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary. There was no explanation. Well, he had to enter the first time for himself and then the second time for the people. When Jesus entered the most holy place in 1844, he didn't enter for himself. He had already done that in AD 31. He entered for the people. Notice, this is early writings, 187, 188. But Jesus said, "Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God." Jesus quickly ascended to his Father to hear from his lips that he accepted the sacrifice and to receive all power in heaven and upon the earth. Angels like a cloud surrounded the Son of God and bade the everlasting gates be lifted up, that the King of glory might come in. I saw that while Jesus was with that bright heavenly host, in the presence of God and surrounded by his glory, the Shekinah glory is in the most holy place, he did not forget his disciples upon the earth, but received power from his Father that he might return and impart power to them. The same day he returned and showed himself to his disciples. He suffered them then to touch him, for he had ascended to his Father and had received power. Early writings 187 and 188. Friends, very clear. Very clear. You're going to see why that is so important. The visible manifestation of God's glory rested upon the mercy seat in the most holy place of the earthly sanctuary, made after the pattern of the heavenly. Hebrews 8:5. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. And over it the cherubims of glory, shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly. Hebrews 9:3-5. So Jesus went to where his Father was, surrounded by his glory in the most holy place, because it's required in Leviticus, and he had to fulfill Leviticus. And beyond the second veil was the holy Shekinah, the visible manifestation of God's glory. Follow the arrow up where it says, God and surrounded by his glory, before which none but the high priest could enter and live. Great Controversy 4:1-4. After reading all of that, there can be no doubt that Jesus entered the most holy place in AD 31. 40 days later, he ascended into heaven and ministered in the holy place in front of the golden altar for 1813 years, until in 1844 he went into the most holy place to offer the sacrifice for the people. Per Leviticus 16:11-14, Jesus went into the most holy place in AD 31 and offered the blood of the bullock for himself and his house. This is irrefutable. Per Leviticus 16:15-17, Jesus went into the most holy place the second time on the Day of Atonement in 1844 to continue his ministry for the people in fulfillment of Leviticus 16:15-17. This is irrefutable. Per Leviticus 16:18, Jesus leaves the most holy place never to return, also on a Day of Atonement, as the high priest did in the typical service. And where does he go? And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord and make an atonement for it. This is irrefutable. I beheld till the Ancient of Days did sit. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I saw and behold one like the Son of Man came to the Ancient of Days, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. Daniel 7:9-14. This is irrefutable. Then I saw that Jesus would not leave the most holy place until every case was decided. Therefore, what is done to rescue souls from the coming storm of wrath must be done before Jesus leaves the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary. This is irrefutable. Early Writings 36 and 48. This is why people get confused. Whatever has to be done to save people has to happen before the most holy, before Jesus leaves the most holy place. Oh, the probation clause is in the most holy place. No, we're going to see that. There is an intercession in the most holy place, and there is an intercession in the holy place. We're going to understand all of this, but I'm preparing you so that you can see it clearly when we get there. As Jesus entered the most holy place in 1844, he said to the wise virgins, which were in the holy place, because he had been ministering there for 1800 years, he said to the wise virgins, wait here. Wait where? In the holy place where he had been since AD 31, until he returns from the most holy place, when he comes out in Leviticus 16:18, where every case was decided. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord when he will return from the wedding. Luke 12:35-36. The wedding takes place in the most holy place when we are still here on earth. I saw a throne, and on it sat the Father and the Son in the holy place. Notice, I saw the Father rise from the throne, and in a flaming chariot go into the Holy of Holies within the veil and sit down. Then Jesus rose up from the throne. Then he raised his right arm, and we heard his lovely voice saying, wait here. I am going to my Father, who was already in the most holy place, to receive the kingdom. Keep your garments spotless, and in a little while I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself. Then a cloudy chariot with wheels like flaming fire, surrounded by angels, came to where Jesus was. He stepped into the chariot and was borne to the holiest where the Father sat. Early Writings 54 and 55. The wedding and the reception of his kingdom take place in the most holy place. The wedding takes place in the most holy place. The wedding supper takes place 1,000 years later. As God has shown me the travels of the Advent people to the holy city, so we're headed to the holy city, and the rich reward to be given to those who wait the return of their Lord from the wedding, it may be my duty to give you a short sketch of what God has revealed to me. While I was praying at the family altar, the Holy Ghost fell upon me, and I saw a straight and narrow path. On this path, the Advent people were traveling to the city. Soon we heard the voice of God like many waters, which gave us the day and the hour of Jesus' coming. The living saints, 144,000 in number, knew and understood the voice. Soon our eyes were drawn to the east, for a small black cloud had appeared, about half as large as a man's hand, which we all knew was the sign of the Son of Man. Then Jesus' silver trumpet sounded. He gazed on the graves of the sleeping saints and cried, awake, 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 ye that sleep in the dust, and arise. Then there was a mighty earthquake. The graves opened, and the dead came up clothed with immortality. The 144,000 shouted Hallelujah as they recognized their friend who had been torn from them by death. We all entered the cloud together, so we are now going up to heaven after Jesus comes the second time. And we're 7 days ascending to the sea of glass, when Jesus brought the crowns and with his own right hand placed them on our heads in heaven. We all marched in and felt that we had a perfect right in the city. Here we saw the tree of life and the throne of God. Out of the throne came a pure river of water, and on either side of the river was a tree of life. With Jesus at our head, we all descended from the city. So now we're coming back to the earth, down to this earth. Then we looked up and saw the great city. We all cried, the city, the great city, it's coming down from God out of heaven. And it came and settled on the place where we stood. Mount of Olives. Remember, Mount of Olives splits in two and the city lands on top of the Mount of Olives, Zechariah 14. Then we began to look at the glorious things outside of the city. This is on the earth. There I saw most glorious houses that had the appearance of silver. These were to be inhabited by the saints. Then we entered a field full of all kinds of beasts, the lion, the lamb, the leopard, and the wolf, all together in perfect union. Mount Zion was just before us, and on the mount was a glorious temple. And as we were about to enter the holy temple, Jesus raised his lovely voice and said, only the 144,000 entered this place. And we shouted, Hallelujah. The wonderful things I there saw I cannot describe. I saw there tables of stone in which the names of the 144,000 were engraved in letters of gold. After we beheld the glory of the temple, we went out, and Jesus left us and went to the holy city. Soon we heard his lovely voice again saying, Come, my people, you have come out of great tribulation and done my will, suffered for me. Come into supper, for I will gird myself and serve you. This is here on earth. We shouted, Hallelujah, glory, and entered into the city. And I saw a table of pure silver. It was many miles in length, yet our eyes could extend over it. Early Writings, My First Vision, pages 13 to 19. Probation closes, Christ's intercessions cease in heaven. Leviticus 16, 18 to 21. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord. This is Jesus leaving the most holy place. And make an atonement for it. And he shall cleanse it and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. This is the final cleansing of Daniel 8:14. When those hands go on top of that goat, is the final cleansing. The intercession of Christ in the most holy place ends when he exits the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18, never to return. Cleansed means finished. It started in 1844 and has been going on for 182 years, but it is not cleansed until Leviticus 16:20 and Revelation 8:5, when Jesus takes the censer and casts it into the earth. There is no altar in the most holy place to be cleansed. The altar that is before the Lord, Leviticus 16:12 and Leviticus 16:18, is also known as the altar of incense, Exodus 30:27, and the golden altar before the veil, Exodus 40:26, and it is found in the holy place. And what does he do in the holy place? He tarries and performs several activities. He cleanses the holy place, most holy place, we're going to see it, the tabernacle, the holy place, and the golden altar, and then confesses the sin upon Satan, at which time they are blotted out from the sanctuary. This event also must take place on a day of atonement. We're going to see that. As Jesus moved out of the most holy place, that's Leviticus 16:18, a cloud of darkness covered the inhabitants of the earth. There was then no mediator between guilty man, we have missed that, between guilty man and an offended God. While Jesus had been standing between God and guilty man in the most holy place, a restraint was upon the people. But when he stepped out from between man and the Father, when he went to the holy place, the restraint was removed and Satan had entire control of the finally impenitent. Not of everybody, of the finally impenitent, the guilty man. It was impossible for the plagues to be poured out while Jesus officiated in the sanctuary, not the most holy place. Notice he had already left the most holy place. It was impossible for the plagues to be poured out until Jesus left the sanctuary. He comes out of the most holy place, goes to the golden altar, mediates in the golden altar, casts the censer into the earth, places his sins on Satan at the door of the tabernacle, at the door of the holy place in heaven. A fit man takes Satan out, and then Jesus mounts a cloud and leaves the sanctuary. And then, and only then, the plagues commence. We're going to study all this from Ellen White, not from me. It was impossible for the plagues to be poured out while Jesus officiated in the sanctuary. But as his work there is finished, when? In Leviticus 16, 19, and 20, we're going in order, and his intercession closes, there's nothing to stay the wrath of God. Jesus tarried a moment in the outer apartment of the heavenly sanctuary. Why did he tarry? He had to cleanse the most holy place, the golden altar. He had to mediate in front of the golden altar. He had to do all of that. Jesus tarried a moment in the outer apartment of the heavenly sanctuary, and the sins which had been confessed while he was in the most holy place were placed upon Satan, in Leviticus 16:21, we're going in order, were placed upon Satan, the originator of sin, who must suffer their punishment. Every year, you sinned, you had to get a little lamb, split his throat, the blood the high priest took and put in the golden altar. On the Day of Atonement, the high priest would go to the golden altar and transfer those sins to himself. He would walk into the most holy place. He would atone in the most holy place and transfer those sins to the top of the mercy seat. There, they were confessed. He then takes the sins back upon himself. We're going to see that. Goes out of the most holy place, stands in front of the altar again, sprinkles the altar with the blood that came out of the sins after they had been confessed. He then takes the sins back on himself and puts them on the goat at the door of the holy place. That's the sanctuary message. And the sins which had been confessed while he was in the most holy place were placed upon Satan, Leviticus 16:21, the originator of sin, who must suffer their punishment. Early Writings 280. It is from this golden altar in Revelation 8:3, in the holy place, that the censer is cast into the earth. Revelation 8:3-5. There's no other place in Scripture where a censer is cast into the earth, and probation closes. Please read Early Writings 279 and 280 and the Great Controversy 613. On the surface, it appears that probation closes in the most holy place. It is not until we compare the words most holy place, sanctuary, outer apartment in Leviticus 16 with Early Writings and the Great Controversy that we can discern the position of the high priest while those activities are taking place. These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. Revelation 3:7. I saw that Jesus had shut the door of the holy place, and no man can open it, and that he had opened the door into the most holy, and no man can shut it. Early Writings 42, and she quotes Revelation 3:7 and 8. In 1844, Jesus openeth the door to the most holy place, and no man could shut it, and shutteth the door of the holy place, and no man could open it. When he comes out of the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18, the prophecy has to be applied again, but in reverse. He shutteth the door of the most holy place, and no man can open it, and he openeth the door of the holy place, and no man can shut it. Let's look at Revelation 3:7 again to realize that in order to comply with Leviticus 16:18, this prophecy must have a dual application. This thing saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. In Revelation 3:7, he closed the door of the holy place and opened the door into the most holy place. But 15 verses later, in Revelation 4:1, another door opens in heaven as he leaves the most holy place, per Leviticus 16:18, to commence his ministry into the holy place. We're going to see that. So let's read Revelation 3:7 again. Now we're leaving. Jesus is leaving the most holy place. This is how we're going to read it now. This thing saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth the door to the holy place in Revelation 4:1, and no man can shut it, and shutteth the door of the most holy place, and no man can open it. He never goes back to the most holy place. Leviticus 16 has 34 verses. Every activity that Jesus performs from Leviticus 16:18 until the end of the chapter, and every activity from Revelation 4:1 until the end of the book, takes place in the holy place, not in the most holy. We have never taught that. We have never seen that. Ask your pastor. Where is Jesus right now? In the most holy place. Where is he when probation closes? In the most holy place. It was not God's plan that we would see this until now. This is why this is the last message of mercy, because probation is about to close. We should have understood these things. But in 1980, there was a fiasco with Desmond Ford. There was a disagreement about the two compartments in heaven, the holy and the most holy. He believed there was no most holy place in heaven. And this is when this whole thing was confused. 1980, 50 years ago. Why Revelation 4:1? After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. This is only 15 verses after Revelation 3:7 and 8, where he left the most holy place. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. Revelation 4:1. Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. Revelation 4:1. Note that it is the voice of Jesus, not John, telling us to look now into the holy place for all future activities in Revelation. In 1844, he has said to us before leaving the holy place, Wait here, I am going to my Father to receive the kingdom. Keep your garments spotless, and in a little while I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself. Early writings 54 and 55. Look again at Leviticus 16:18. Where does Jesus go when he leaves the most holy place? And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord and make an atonement for it. Note that Jesus is still interceding when he leaves the most holy place. Let's look again at Revelation 8:3-5. Verse 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, that is Jesus, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. He's mediating. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and cast it into the earth. Revelation 8:3-5. This is the only place in Scripture where a censer is cast into the earth. Jesus leaves the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18. In Revelation 4:1, a door is open into the holy place. In Revelation 8:3-5, as Jesus is standing in front of the golden altar with the golden censer, there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God. He's interceding, the prayers are going up. But if probation closes for everyone in the most holy place, as we have always believed, who is Jesus interceding for in the holy place? And why does Jesus, while interceding in front of the golden altar in Revelation 8:3-4, throw down the censer so abruptly in verse 5? Then I saw that Jesus would not leave the most holy place until every case was decided. Early writings 36. When the investigative judgment ends, Jesus receives his kingdom and the wedding takes place in the most holy place. His kingdom is made up of all those whose names were not blotted out from the book of life after the investigative judgment is completed. Notice we're going to see that. We do not know who makes up his kingdom, neither does the universe, nor the angels, nor Satan. Jesus knew with God the Father from the foundation of the world. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Revelation 17:8. Friends, it's not that Jesus predestinated us to be saved. No. Jesus knows the end from the beginning. God the Father knows the end from the beginning. They know who are the people that are going to be saved. And so, before I was born, Jesus knew whether I was going to be saved or not. Look at the next verse. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Jeremiah 1:5. At that time of the investigative judgment, there are two classes of people alive. The professed people of God, those who have ever entered into the service of God and whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life, and the wicked who are not judged until after the 1,000 years. Those are the only two people. Those that profess to be people of God, some are not, some are fakes. They find out much later, Matthew 7, Lord, didn't I do this and this and this? I never knew you. They are professed people. Some are real, some are the wise virgins, some are the foolish virgins. That's group one. Group two, the multitude that never cared. Cain never cared. His name was never written in the book of life. Those are the only two people alive at that time, those two groups of people. In the great day of final atonement and investigative judgment, the only cases considered are those of the professed people of God. The judgment of the wicked is a distinct and separate work and takes place at a later period. The book of life contains the names of all who have ever entered the service of God. Great Controversy 480. But the rest of the dead, the wicked, Cain, lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. Revelation 20 verse 5. When we become children of God, our names are written in the Lamb's book of life, and they remain there until the time of the investigative judgment. If in that day it shall appear that all our wicked deeds have not been fully repented of, our names will be blotted from the book of life, and our sins will stand against us. Signs of the Times, August 6, 1885. This is why it's called the time of Jacob's trouble. If Jacob had not wrestled with God before meeting his brother Esau, if he had kept one sin back from God, he would have never made it. And this is why it's so important to understand this subject. Watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. Judgment is taking place. You don't know that you have that your name is being called out, and you have unconfessed sins in your hearts. Friend, this is why we cannot go to bed having unconfessed sins. This is why we cannot have a cherished sin. This is why we can be perfect at every stage of development, provided that we're not abusing that privilege and we sin and confess, sin and confess, sin and confess the first sin, the same sin for 20 years. No, that doesn't work. If we do that, Hebrews 6:6 kicks in. You are crucifying the Son of God afresh. But if every time we sin and we're trying and praying and saying, Lord, help me to get victory over this sin, if every time we fall, we go before the Lord and say, Lord, I'm sorry, He forgives us. And then we're perfect again. When God the Father looks at us, He doesn't see us, He sees Jesus. But if I have unconfessed sin, when God the Father looks at Lou Munilla, He's looking at Lou Munilla, not Jesus, because Jesus can't protect me because I have unconfessed sin. Ezekiel 33. Watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. What time is here referred to? Not to the revelation of Christ in the clouds of heaven to find a people asleep, no, but to His return from His ministration in the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary, when He lays off His priestly attire and clotheth Himself with garments of vengeance, and when the mandate goes forth, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. When Jesus ceases to plead for man, probation closes. Christ's intercessions cease in heaven. This time finally comes suddenly upon all. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, pages 190 and 191. Let's go through that again, because you may, I missed it the first time I read it. Notice, He's in the most holy place. He comes as a thief in the night. My name is called. I don't make it. He comes out of the most holy place, and where it says, when He lays off His priestly attire and clothes Himself with garments of vengeance, this is after He throws down the censer in the holy place. He's already left the most holy place. He throws down the censer. He clothes Himself with garments of vengeance, and then He comes back to earth. And then she says, probation closes, Christ's intercessions, plural, in most holy and in the holy, cease in heaven. This time finally comes suddenly upon all. Then I saw Jesus, who had been ministering before the ark containing the 10 Commandments, throw down the censer. He raised His hands and with a loud voice said, it is done. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. Early Writings 279. The righteous and the wicked will still be living upon the earth. Men will be planting and building, eating and drinking, all unconscious that the final irrevocable decision has been pronounced in the sanctuary above. Great Controversy 491. There are two intercessions in heaven, first in the most holy place and then in the holy place, from where the censer is cast into the earth and probation closes. Both intercessions start and end in secret, and both apartments must be cleansed. God commanded that an atonement be made for each of the sacred apartments. As for the altar, to cleanse it and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. Leviticus 16:19, Patriarchs and Prophets 3:55. Remember in Leviticus 16:20? And when he has finished cleansing both apartments, the most holy, the holy, and the golden altar. Notice that it says there, God commanded an atonement be made for each of the sacred apartments. As for the altar, it's Leviticus 16:20 and 21. We cannot understand the plan of salvation without understanding Leviticus 16, friends. We cannot. But when is the censer cast into the earth? At this point in Leviticus, we still cannot be sure. Let's look again at early writings. Then I saw Jesus, who had been ministering before the ark in the most holy, throw down the censer and with a loud voice said, "It is done." Every case had been decided for life or death. Where was every case decided? In the most holy. So she goes from the most holy to the holy back to the most holy. A prophet can do that. We cannot. Every case is decided in the most holy. That's why she says in early writings, whatever you're going to do for a soul has to be done before Jesus leaves the most holy place. Once he leaves the most holy place, why do we remain here? Because the universe has to see that we can keep God's law. We have missed the words "had been." Jesus had been ministering before the ark in the most holy place. He then leaves the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18, and as he's still interceding in front of the golden altar in Revelation 8:3 and 4 in the holy place, he throws down the censer in verse 5. In early writings, the phrase "had been" is written in the past tense because Jesus had already left the most holy place. After the censer is cast into the earth, he raises his hands and with a loud voice proclaims, "It is done." Probation closes, and Jesus makes the solemn declaration, "He that is unjust, let him be unjust still." Revelation 22:11. Jesus would never say "it is done" in early writings 279 before confessing the sins on Satan and sending him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. Leviticus 16:22, 21 and 22. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, probably Gabriel, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Revelation 21:2. In my opinion, probably Gabriel, who took Satan's position in heaven. So the timing of when the censer is cast into the earth is not clear, and it will never be. Because when the censer is cast into the earth, probation closes, and we have been told there is no command for anyone to search the scripture in order to ascertain, if possible, when probation will close. Selected Messages, Book 1, page 191. Now, this quote here puts it all together. As Jesus moved out of the most holy place, Leviticus 16:18, a cloud of darkness covered the inhabitants of the earth. There was then no mediator between guilty man and an offended God. Why was there not a mediator between guilty man and an offended God? Because those whose names were not written in the book of life, which are the guilty man, the finally impenitent, they were not judged. The investigative judgment passed them over. So now, there is no mediator. When he leaves the most holy place, there is no mediator between guilty man and an offended God. But there's still a mediator for those that are not guilty men. Notice, while Jesus had been in the most holy place standing between God and guilty man, a restraint was placed upon the people. But when he stepped out between man and the Father, the restraint was removed, and Satan had entire control of the finally impenitent. It was impossible for the plagues to be poured out while Jesus officiated in the sanctuary. But as his work there is finished and his intercession closes, there is nothing to stay the wrath of God. In that fearful time after Leviticus 16, 19, and 20, after the close of Jesus' mediation, the saints were living in the sight of a holy God without an intercessor. Do you see how you got to dissect these verses in early writings? So when he leaves the most holy place, there's no mediator between guilty man and an offended God. But when he leaves the sanctuary, after the sins are placed on Satan, then for that period of time, after probation closes, we don't have a mediator either. And if the sins are not blotted out from our minds, Satan would drive us crazy. So our sins are blotted out. We don't remember any sins. And then we can pass through Jacob's time of trouble. We're going to see that. In that fearful time after the close of Jesus' mediation, the saints were living in the sight of a holy God without an intercessor. Every case was decided, every jewel numbered. Jesus tarried a moment in the outer apartment of the heavenly sanctuary, and the sins which had been confessed while he was in the most holy place were placed upon Satan, the originator of sin, who must suffer their punishment. Note that when the intercession of Jesus ceases in the most holy place, probation closes only for the wicked, referred to in early writings above as the guilty man, the finally impenitent. Jesus then moves to the holy place and continues to intercede for the professed people of God. It is only when his final intercession ends in the sanctuary, which includes the holy place, that the censer is cast into the earth. Then probation closes for the world, and the 144,000, which are the only righteous left alive, must then live in the sight of a holy God without an intercessor. I was pointed down to the time when the third angel's message was closing. The power of God had rested upon his people. They had accomplished their work and were prepared for the trying hour before them. They had received the latter rain, and the living testimony had been revived. I saw angels hurrying to and fro in heaven. An angel with a writer's inkhorn by his side returned from the earth and reported to Jesus, who was standing in front of the golden altar. This is the angel that gives him incense. An angel with a writer's inkhorn by his side returned from the earth and reported to Jesus that his work was done and the saints were numbered and sealed. Then I saw Jesus, who had been before ministering before the ark containing the 10 commandments in front of the golden altar in the holy place, throw down the censer. He raised his hands and with a loud voice said, "It is done. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still." Every case had been decided for life or death. Where? In the most holy place. Leviticus 16, 18 to 21. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord and make an atonement for it and cleanse it and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, most holy, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. Strong's Concordance assigns its number 6944 Kodesh to the word holy in Leviticus 16:20 above. It is the same number assigned to the word holy in holy place within the veil before the mercy seat in Leviticus 16:2. So holy place in Leviticus 16:20 really means the most holy place. We have failed to recognize that Jesus, after leaving the most holy place in Leviticus 16:18, must still reconcile the most holy place in Leviticus 16:20, the tabernacle of the congregation in Leviticus 16:20, and the altar in Leviticus 16:20 during his final intercession in the holy place in Leviticus 16:20. When he has reconciled all three, then and only then does he bring the live goat in Leviticus 16:20 and confesses the sins upon Satan in Leviticus 16:21. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel and all their transgressions in all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. The blotting out of sins takes place in verse 21 of Leviticus 16, when Jesus lays his hands over the head of Satan and confesses over him all the sins of God's people. It is crucial to understand that this event takes place at the door of the holy place in the heavenly sanctuary, and it must take place on a day of atonement. Then I saw that Jesus' work in the sanctuary will soon be finished. And after his work there is finished, he will come to the door of the first apartment, the holy place, and confess the sins of Israel upon the head of the scapegoat. Spalding and Megan Collection, pages 1 and 2. In the type, this great work of atonement or blotting out of sins was represented by the services of the Day of Atonement, the cleansing of the earthly sanctuary. Patriarchs and Prophets 3:57. This is what we're waiting for, friends. This is why Jesus has waited 2,000 years for the final blotting out of sins, when the final cleansing of the sanctuary takes place. Not until they're placed on that goat are they blotted out. So although we do not know when the censer is cast into the earth and probation closes, we do know that once that event happens, then Jesus, on a day of atonement, at the door of the holy place, lays both hands upon the head of Satan, confesses over him the sins of God's people, and puts them upon the head of Satan. Then Jesus sends Satan into the wilderness. Leviticus 16:21 is the key to understanding the cleansing of the sanctuary. Why? Because as soon as the most holy place, and the golden altar are cleansed in Leviticus 16:20, Jesus, standing in front of the golden altar, takes the golden censer and casts it into the earth. Then the sins are placed upon Satan in Leviticus 16:21, and the blotting out of sin takes place. And this event also must take place on a day of atonement, according to what we just read. The 144,000, who are the only people then left, must live in the sight of a holy God without a mediator. And if they had any sins, had the sins not been blotted out, they would be tortured to death. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel. Not until the goat had been thus sent away did the people regard themselves as freed from the burden of their sins. Patriarchs and Prophets 3:55. So in the time of trouble, while they have a deep sense of their own worthiness, they have no concealed wrongs to reveal. Their sins have gone beforehand to judgment and have been blotted out, and they cannot bring them to remembrance. The Great Controversy 6:20. Friends, do you see why, if we understand this message this way, are you going to be looking at pornography and getting on your knees and praying to God? Do you think He's going to hear your prayer? Are you going to be stealing from your boss and praying to God? We do not understand the heinousness of sin. We do not. I haven't. Until I understood Leviticus 16, I did not comprehend, Lord, I cannot have one spot or one blemish. It's not that I'm going to be perfect. I'm perfect now. I don't know about tomorrow. I can fall tomorrow. But if I fall, I understand this message and I will go before my God and say, Lord, I'm sorry. I did not want to do that. Lord, give me power. Lord, help me to overcome this sin. And He will give you the power, because this is the only promise. We can have the divine nature that Jesus had. As He prayed to His Father, He got power to overcome sin. And He says, you can do that. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. I've read to you the quote that says, this promise is a command. Is He lying to us? No. The only way it happens is that every time you sin, you confess before your holy God. And you stop sinning. Hopefully, He tells you to stop drinking, and you stop drinking. It may take you a year, it may take you 6 months, it may take you a day. But you stop, and then He'll tell you, you can't do that anymore. That's wrong too. And then you deal with that. And that's why it's the work of a lifetime. But at every stage of development, we are perfect. It's a little plan. We're perfect at every stage of development. Powerful message. We cannot make it without understanding this, friends. Who does probation close for in the most holy and then in the holy? Part 11. Question 6. We're going to continue it there. The trumpets commence after probation closes. Jacob's time of trouble and the abomination of desolation. Zechariah 14, 16 through 90, the destruction of the wicked. We are delivered, it is the voice of God. Testimonies, Volume 1, pages 353 and 354.